Well, thank you for this opportunity. I'm definitely excited to be here and humbled at the same time. Similar to Linda, lived on a farm, except for my dad was a basketball coach, and they had a pasture with a house in it. And so we found cheap rent in Barnesville, Georgia. That's a real place. Barnesville, Georgia. So it was, we were poor, which is below poor. You have poor, and then you have poor down by the sewer. That's where we were. We were when we moved in, all the rats lost weight. It was crazy. We had to sit by, open the oven to feel the heat. There was 5 of us, 5 kids, and so we had a big family. Toilet water would freeze, and but those are I was reading one of Andrew Carnegie books. I believe he said, "Poverty is the richest experience a boy can have, but it's meant to be passed through and not dwelled in." Oh, I'm sorry. And I believe, and that's part of one of the draws for me to link to, was being able to democratize some of these pre-IPO offerings that haven't always been available to everybody, and lowering that entry point. I mean, I was barely scraping in when Joe called. I remember where I was when Joe called so I wanted to invest in Ripple. But just going back, so my dad was a basketball coach. He brought us up, chase your passion, not your pension. And so that's what I did. I played basketball as long as I could. I played for, after college. Actually, now looking back, I actually had a full ride scholarship to Boston University and Lehigh University, but I thought I was going to the NBA, so I signed with Western Kentucky and didn't quite make it to the NBA. So, but I did play in Mexico for a little bit, Los Bucaneros de Campeche in the Yucatan Peninsula, but they quickly fired me. You're only allowed like 2 Americans. And so not like, and I was not that height matters. My dad told me when I was young, son, he's only 5'9", my mom's 5'5", he said, I'm sorry you're 5'9", but if you were 6'5", I'd have to slap your mother. And so every time I was like, I wish I would be taller, it was like the shock factor. Like, no, I wouldn't want my dad to slap my mom, so I'm so happy just to be 5'9", thank you. When we were little, we used to do halftime shows. That's really all my dad had. His dad was an abusive alcoholic, and he was actually beat. His dad beat him to quit school, but he had a dream and he loved basketball, and that was his ticket to get out. And he believed that a father's responsibility is to teach his kids what he knows. And so he knew basketball, and that's what he taught us. So when I was 3 years old, I could dribble 3 basketballs at the same time, the length of the basketball court, down and back. And we actually still have home video footage. My dad had a friend who had a camera at the time. This is in the 80s, but he gave us the footage. But like Charles Barkley, I don't know if some of you've seen on TNT, he's in the huddle. That was back when he played. And we're in the Omni in Atlanta, dribbling basketballs. And Ernie Johnson, who does TNT with him, he's rebounding for us. So we have some of those videos that will last forever. So, man. So I was in training camp. So after I got fired in Mexico, we did a stint in China. We played all their top teams. I was it was called Premier Basketball League. We're getting close to the crisis now, like 06, 07. And I was playing in Jacksonville. Did you see the chalk on my lips? Thank you. So I was in training camp in Jacksonville, playing with the Jacksonville Jam. It was a new league, and a guy went to make a pass, and I tried to block the pass, and his knuckles hit me in the bottom tooth here, and it blew both of my teeth through the gums. And so, like, you can see the line where they just blew, and they were spinning, and they're longer than they look. And so what I found out is, like, for some reason, people don't trust you when you're missing your front teeth. Like, in Walmart and like smile at people and everybody's ducking. And they're looking at my tonsils. So that was a long time. Like, so basically, he said, chase your passion, not your pension. I did, and I went slap broke. I was like, back down to poor. So I had to get a job, and that was in 08, 09, right in the housing crisis. I mean, it's a tough time just to get a job. And I went and worked for a company that manufactured point of purchase fixtures and displays. It was like commercial printing. We had 1 million square feet, probably at the heyday, 1,000 employees. And so I started there estimating customer service, and then went to inside sales, then outside sales, and then after 5 years of work, I was still making $30,000 for the whole year. I know we're with rich people in here. And so I went work for another company, and then as contemporary marketing. And then I got a call about a year later. They wanted me to come back to this other company. And so I went back there. They asked me to be a general manager. And before I went back, my friend gave me some good advice. He said, "Golden," he said, "my friends are consultants. They make all kinds of money." He said, "All they do is they go to the people that are doing the work and they listen to them. And they put in a beautiful presentation and they present it to the executives and they make all kinds of money." And I'm like, genius. So I went and I spent a lot of time on the plant floor. And sure enough, the first plant manager, he said, Eduardo Sanchez, he said, "Golden, no offense," he said, "but I've been here 25 years and we've had 17 managers and you're probably going to be 18. He said, "Everybody comes and they have these new ideas. And he said, "For all these new ideas, we take 3 steps back." He said, "If you will just untie my hands and let me go to work," he said, "I can get the job done." And so I said, "Here's my new idea. No new ideas. You do whatever you want, and I got your back." And so we had a lot of success that year in that division. Probably the best they've had in 20 plus years that anything I had P&Ls for. And so from there I went to another division. That's why I kind of don't like the title of my talk here today, but I was trying to be fancy. I'm not a marketing person, so I thought, man, that'd be cool. But because I really care about those people that we worked with, some of the best people I know. And so I went to the other division and did similar thing, and we had a great year. But then, probably, well, it was 2017. I was actually just going to buy some supplements online, all legal supplements online. I said, you can save 20% if you pay in Bitcoin. So I thought, well, I'll try anything once except for homosexual activity and drugs with needles. Not that there's anything wrong with either. It was not my part of my philosophy. So I tried. So I tried to buy the Bitcoin, and it took too long. I think the fee I was going to take like 5 days. So I'm like, I don't have time for that. I'll just pay for it. Maybe this will be one of those things that turns into something. And then 3 months later, I went back and looked at it, and it had to hit like triple. This was 2017. And so once that happened, I thought, wow, I don't know what this is. I don't really know that many rich people, but I went to the one that I did know and respected, and I said, "Hey Chip, do you know anything about this Bitcoin?" And he said, "I don't." And I thought, wow, this is why I like him. That's one thing I found out. Side note, beware of false knowledge, for it is more dangerous than ignorance. And I've seen a lot of people in a lot of high places that don't know but bark like they know, and it gets us in a lot of trouble. I'd rather just someone say, "I don't know, but I'll find out." So anyway, that's why I go to Chip. It takes a while. He comes back and he says, "No," he said, I don't know if it's going to be Bitcoin, but this blockchain underlying technology." He said, "I think there's another one called Ripples or XRP." And he said, "I think Ethereum will be like the oil." And so from that time, on the evenings, I just started studying a lot and just researching all the different tokens. He also bought a mining rig and taught me how to set up. I got $6,000. I still got the receipts for the Ethereum rig. And we started mining Ethereum out of the house. And then shortly thereafter, I started realizing with the price fluctuation. I'd probably make more if I was just investing in some of these things. And so that's what I started doing in the research. Just really anything I could get my hands on, banking on Bitcoin, and then studying the Ripple and the team and all of that, and listening to all the YouTube guys, and really learning how to learn is what I'm reading white papers. I'm like, I don't know what a white paper is. I'm like, tissue paper. So I was reading it. I'm like, what am I looking at? And I remember the story. This hopefully is not too inappropriate, but we're all adults. So like, my dad's telling the story. I think it's funny to me because I was about his age when he's telling the story. So he said when he was like 30 something, in his mid-30s, he said my brother, he got kicked in his private parts when he was about 12, 13, so about the puberty age. And he said, my brother came home and said, Dad, I got kicked. And he said, well, you look at it. And my dad telling the story, he said, man, he's just about that age where you don't want to really be caught looking at your son, you know, but he look, I just want to check, make sure nothing was ruptured in the posterity here. And he said, so I pulled his underwear down. And he said, I was nervous, so I went, well, looks good to me. And when he let go, it went pop and hit it. And so that's a long way to say, the only way I could relate to that was looking at those white papers. I'm not sure exactly what this is, but I think it's okay. So I was trying to figure out. Like what was going on, if there's a use case for any of this stuff. And that was the best I could find. So I did start investing in Ripple quite pretty good in the XRP token, and I felt pretty confident in the wealth that was being generated. So I remember too. This was in the 2020 crisis. I remember when President Trump was in the White House and he had all the bankers, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, and I remember saying like, it's not a financial crisis, and I'm like, I think it's a financial crisis. I'm not sure indirectly, directly, or what. And so at that time, I was able to roll over into I Trust Capital. A lot of the same YouTube guys use those into a retirement account. Then 2020, some guys bought into our company, and they came in, and we didn't really agree much, and so probably October, me and my wife actually had a stillborn in 2020, which was tough, and then less than 90 days later, my dad got COVID, and so he passed away, and so at the funeral, and I'm a mama's boy, so I was born on May 10th. 1981, $5 in a card is never too late. I'll go ahead and send it to me. But so I'm mama's boy, born on Mother's Day. So I told her at the funeral I'd move back to Utah. And so it was really a tough decision because I loved all the people that I was working with. But I'm glad that because of crypto and those investments, that I was able to do that, and I wasn't like balling on more like Social Security, but I could find a way to make it. I might have to get a paper route or do something different. I guess I don't do paper routes anymore, but then that's when I moved to Utah, and I met up with some friends. So we were the Little Nuggets that did the halftime show, and I had some friends that played, and they were the Whiz Kids. And so these Whiz Kids, we had kind of lost contact, but since my father passed away, we had rekindled the flame, and I told him I was just going to take just a couple of years off and just invest in myself. And I remember being at my in-laws table, and I was telling them my goal is if I could make, because I knew I was getting ready for the Flare Network job anyway, so I'm like, their passive income is going to be the thing. How can if I could apply myself passive income? So I told my in-laws at the table, the same ones I told about Bitcoin at 15,000 before it went down to 3,000 for 3 years, Sunday dinner. So I totally lost my train of thought. What was it? Yeah, so they had just started a Genesis Block. It was a startup company, And it was very similar in principle to what's happening here at Ingle. It was trying to bridge the gap and be able to provide DeFi for the average person. And so it was an app that's built to be able to spend the crypto, and they've been working on it for 2 years. But I started in less than a year, it would be a year June, and they started doing private banking. So we don't have time to wait, and so the private banking, it took off. I've never really seen anything like it. Now looking back, I realized my friend was just wanting to go fishing in Alaska and needed someone to do all the paperwork. So I got stuck in my basement working a ton. But we onboarded, ended up being over $120 million in probably 9 months, 8 to 9 months. And it was pretty wild. But now with the regulatory environment that we're in, and with the BlockFi settlement for $100 million, the company now, as of actually today's my first day in the new company, so for how I'm on the clock, but I kind of feel bad not being at work. So they've decided to split. So me and one of the co-founders, we've started a fund just to have somewhere for the funds to go, and then the Genesis block rebranded to High Top, so they're still building the app. But yeah, that's pretty much my journey here, and I'm just happy. My dad always said, anytime you can be around good people, do it. So that's why I'm here. It's to be around y'all. So thanks for having me.